2, 1. What is happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Here the Spirit, presented to you by NoleGameDay.com. We are here on a wonderful and rainy Thursday evening in Tallahassee. I don't know why my voice went from low to really high there with some different levels and decibels, but here to try to bring some excitement because we've got a lot of interesting stuff, some ups and some downs to talk about on this podcast this week. Really excited for. We got the whole crew too. With me at the top is D-Lou, Dustin Lewis, our editor-in-chief at NoleGameDay.com. We got Nate Greer, lead recruiting insider, at the bottom left, and then Austin Veazey, our lead basketball writer, bottom right, with the shoe boxes all around him in his closet. What is up? What is happening? Good evening, guys. No, this show is not canceled. I know that we're 4 minutes late, but the show is not canceled.
Yeah, have some
4
patience.
minutes, the world's over.
You got to be patient for perfection, but like you said, Logan, some real ups and downs. Florida State recruiting, definitely a roller coaster as of late. You know, one day you're feeling high, and the next day you're feeling low. So,
thanks. Oh, that was great.
And then today, Dalen Smothers commits to Oklahoma over Florida State. So you're going back down, but hey, maybe next week you'll get some news that pops you right back up.
That was beautifully written there. I don't know if that was planned all day.
Well, that wasn't written. That was said. So
I feel great.
You feel amazing, Nate? You feel great?
Yeah, man.
Everything's great this week. Nothing on your mind. Nothing.
No, it's my
really
kid's
hassling.
birthday. It's my kid's birthday. Waiting for see what this rain's gonna do.
Kid's birthday is on a podcast. Unreal.
Yeah, where's your kid right now? You know,
she's drawing her little drawings.
Yeah.
What's she like to draw?
Anime.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That could be turned into a business.
She's actually pretty good at it.
That could turn into a business.
Parsons decommitted, so rip that Band-Aid off. Yeah, man.
Feeling good.
Miami's recruiting at an elite level. Florida's whiffing, so feeling great.
Yeah, we'll discuss about that. But yeah, let's get started before we get going with all the scoopage of what has happened the last week. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, like. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. Make sure you guys sub over there. I've been seeing a lot of more views and listens right now, so appreciate y'all hopping on the live streams and hanging out with us every week. Let's get started. Number one topic of the week is going to be Chris Parson, Florida State's quarterback commit, now former of the 2023 class. Seems like this was just coming a little bit for a while. Once he canceled his journal with us at NoleGameDay.com, kind of felt like something was up here. You had Dad and the spaces with FSU fans kind of riling them up. You see tweets kind of left and right there. Chris Parson deletes and, unfriends and gets rid of following everybody on the beat in Tallahassee, except for I'm still alive somehow in that boat, but absolutely wipes everyone on the beat. And so and then also there's no contact there. He has a whole media blackout before his elite camp. He has one interview then, and that practically wrapped up the last time we really got to have a chat with Chris until he went and competed at the Elite 11. So, gentlemen, it finally happened. We were close to that camp and that recruitment. Things kind of went sideways there. And, everybody's kind of speculating what had to have been the situation that caused it. And I think it's pretty apparent and right in front of our faces with the heavy interest now of Brock Glenn, another really talented quarterback that competed in the Elite 11, starting to the staff. And I think FSU starting to feel optimistic about landing him. Chris kind of felt that, and it seemed like the Parson family and him no longer want to be in that same quarterback room with Brock Glenn if that ends up being the case. But the staff was really communicative, Dustin. I mean, you had a close relationship with the Parson family for a very long while. What's going on here? I mean, I know it was a little bit expected, but it happened. It finally happened.
Yeah, like you said, it kind of felt like this was coming. I would say before May, it never felt like this day was truly going to come. But Florida State, they made those offers to Brock Glenn and Ricky Collins in May, and ever since then, the tone behind Parson and the message coming from that camp has kind of shifted. And, he took those visits in June, came to Florida State at the end of the month, continued to reevaluate things. And, over the weekend, I was hearing that those visits were just for fun, but clearly that wasn't the case. And this week there were some crystal balls put out for Brock Glenn to Florida State. So it kind of seems like that recruitment is trending towards the Seminoles. And in response, Parson decided to reopen his recruitment. So definitely a disappointing end to that recruitment.
My feeling is that I got a couple of feelings. There were some. There was another outlet who, I guess, I don't know the full story. It's a secondhand information that was passed to me, but insinuating that Parson was looked at as a second quarterback in the class of 2. Not really sure I buy that. That sounds like sour grapes to me. And maybe that's just their response to him shutting out the media and him not really liking that forum in the first place. At the same time, I said on here quite a few times I like the kid and how he could fit in college football. He puts stress on the defense with his feet and his arm. He can stretch the field, throws a phenomenal deep ball. Really like him as a prospect, and Florida State did their diligence to keep him. I knew it was over when he said on his visit, someone asked him, I think you were there, Dustin, about his status of his commitment, and he kind of smartly said it, well, I'm here, aren't I? His response was kind of like, okay. But Florida State needs 2 quarterbacks, and I appreciate the coaching staff not letting a camp hold them hostage once again, like they did with Sam Howell, and then they got burned. So while Parson was wanted, and he brings some attributes to a college program that you like a lot, so does Brock Glenn. Let's just keep it 100. Brock Glenn is a good quarterback in his own right, and he fits the system just as much as Parson did. So I question the mentality of not wanting to compete. I know that some people think that it's the coach's job to sell that. It is that is their job. But, the want to compete is also ingrained in the person. So I question that there. I question a little bit of the reasons why he decided to let things go so sideways. And I think that's coming from his camp. Pop's hopping on his spaces and having his little meltdown, I think was, the end of it officially. But, Pops isn't the one going to Florida State. The kid is. So I don't like how that played out. I think, I'm not going to talk ill about it because we had a great relationship with him. But there's some things to not like on that side when it comes to the middle part of football. That reminds me of DeAndre Francois. So we don't know how that worked out. Hopefully Florida State can get Brock Glenn locked in sooner rather than later. But either way, we're moving on.
I don't disagree. And, there was a lot said. Just pulled up a couple quotes from Parsons' time doing interviews and stuff. And, you look back in the fall, September 2021, Parsons says, I'm locked in on the Seminoles. I won't be going to any other schools to visit. I'm locked in on Florida State 100%. You get to January, that's where we started the journal, same kind of thing. I won't be visiting any other schools throughout my senior year. I don't care what anyone on social media has to say about it. And just progressing through the offseason, that was the same message. The offers go out in May. And Nate, I was going to pull up that quote that you were talking about. He said, I talked to the coaches, so we both understand what's going on. As long as we're good, that's all that matters. I'm here, so it must be pretty good. And that was a week later. He was at Mississippi State. A week after that, he was at SMU, and then he concluded it with that official visit to Florida State. But, obviously that message changed over time.
And I think that we've discussed it. I think that he didn't, maybe his camp didn't like the way that Florida State covered him. Again, that's just
I'm not understanding that part.
Being a quarterback, at a high Division I program, you're going to get praise and you're going to be the scapegoat. So,
well, it's Twitter.
It's Twitter also.
And but crazy FSU Twitter.
But it was also a couple websites that, apparently, beat writers or whomever, not everyone's going to talk positive of you. How are you going to persevere through that, or how are you going to use that as a way to push you? And that's why I challenge the mental part of it. I'm not saying that he doesn't understand the game or anything like that. It's just me, as someone that's covered this part of the college sport for a long time, you see kids like this that sometimes they just don't pan out.
Yeah, and I mean, you've already had that instability at quarterback the last couple of years. I mean, we saw what happened with DeAndre Francois. You lost James Blackman. Things didn't go how you were expecting. With Mackenzie Milton a year ago, Chubba Purdy transferred out. So you're in a very precarious situation right now. And if Jordan Travis decides to leave after the fall, you're sitting there with Tate Rodemaker, who hasn't showed a ton to this point, and a true freshman, A.J. Duffy. So you've got to find a quarterback that's going to help stabilize this program moving into the future. And I think that's what Florida State's, whatever. That's what Florida State's looking for. They want to bring in 2 quarterbacks in his class.
Yeah.
That message was clear from the beginning to Parson.
Yes.
And then, whenever Florida State pulled that trigger and put those offers out, he kind of flip-flopped on what he had said before.
And that's the thing that I think maybe I as a fan, bothers me the most is that, the coaching staff was forthright with him the whole time. It's not something that they just threw on him at the last moment. And I think they've done a great job building the trenches. We talked about that a lot. They're trying to bring some skill in. They got to hit a home run with quarterback in this class. So, they can't risk anything. So, if it was Parson or whether it was vice versa, Glenn that was committed and they were offering Chris Parson, either way it worked out. Florida State's got to get a leader of the class, signed and ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't lose. The staff did what they had to do. I mean, you can't. The kid, if he's going to decommit and doesn't want to come in with another quarterback in his class, and so be it. But Florida State, as a program, if you look at the quarterback room going into the season, I think that's one of, if not the thinnest room right next to tight end. I mean, that's a very scary situation if you lose Jordan Travis there. They've got to build that quarterback room. They got to build it with talent. They got to build it with guys that can actually start. And the ACC, I don't think Tate Rodemaker's a starter. Definitely Duffy, from the things that we saw in the spring. I didn't see really much growth on the Rodemaker side like maybe some other outlets did. I mean, I kind of keep it straight up with you. I mean, just not to be the case. Jordan Travis is levels ahead of these guys. So Florida State's got to fix that quarterback room. So you got to bring in 2 quarterbacks. I like, I think Brock Glenn did an interview with Tallahassee Democrat with them and, kind of said it in a quote, just to kind of sum it up, saying, I would love to come in and compete. Iron sharpens iron. And that's not really what we really heard a ton of, Dustin, from Chris, really. I mean, it seems like if he got asked the question, then he would try to make it sound around that way, but it wasn't kind of straight up and clear kind of on Glenn's side. And both guys are extremely talented. I think it's a loss for Florida State. I think the mental thing, like Nate is saying, is definitely worrisome. That is definitely a worried thing that I wouldn't want to have out of my quarterback. But the play on the field and the talent, the way that it could work in this offense, man, and he's got a cannon, it definitely sucks in Florida State's favor. That's why you'd love that bring in too.
Yeah, I'm sure that bringing in Parson and Glenn would have been, ideal.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting where they go now. We talked about in our chat, man. The board's interesting. From moving forward, quarterbacks are committed. Do they still evaluate and pursue another high school kid, or now does that turn into a portal because of you're playing on 1 and 2 high school quarterbacks is kind of messed up now.
Yeah, like you said, anyone you go after at this point, you're getting into it pretty late on, and I mean you were already late as is getting on an uncommitted guy and Brock Glenn, and you're battling pretty hard with Ohio State, Auburn, and LSU right there. And Ricky Collins, it seems like that offer came too late, and it's going to take something monumental to get him to flip from Purdue. So we'll see how it plays out during the fall. But outside of that, there was some talk behind maybe Emory Williams. He's now committed to Miami. Marcus Stokes, another in-state quarterback, recently flipped his commitment from Penn State to Florida. I'd be interested to see if Florida State maybe tries to kick the tires again on Avery Johnson. There was a little bit of buzz between him and Florida State last summer. Now, some of that connection was with Kenny Dillingham, but some was with Norvell as well. But again, that's a guy that recently made a commitment to in-state Kansas State. So anyone you go after at this point, it's going to be a battle to flip them unless you're going at an under-the-radar prospect that hasn't committed somewhere yet. But, like you said, Nate, it would have been ideal to land Parson and Brock Glenn. Now you're going to be looking at some different options, and I expect that quarterback board to start expanding in the near future.
Yeah, let's talk about really Brock Glenn here.
Someone asked who that was that I shared on Twitter. That was Casey Wiseman. He's a 3-star quarterback who I've liked quite a bit. I look FSU go after him, but it's not my job.
Yeah. No, let's talk Brock Glenn a little bit too now. I mean, that seems like Florida State's got a good spot here. It was all depending too with Ohio State's quarterback room. You've always had Auburn there, but I think Florida State, Coach Tokars and Norvell and the whole offensive staff have really put themselves in a pretty good spot to land a really, once again, a talented quarterback to help make that fix from losing Chris Parson. Should we see something happening in the near future? Because it seems like day by day, things just keep on trending in the right direction for Florida State to land another talented quarterback out of Tennessee.
Yeah, so the message from Brock ever since his official visit to Florida State was he wanted to make a commitment in late June or in early July. And, now we're getting to that mid-July point. So you're like, what's going on? And I think it's become extremely tough for him to make these decisions. I would say right now, Ohio State and Florida State are right there at the top of his recruitment, and LSU recently offered, and they're trying to get him to hold off on making a decision before the dead period lifts back up to get him to Baton Rouge. I traded some messages with Brock earlier in the week, actually yesterday, and he said that he's hoping to make a decision here in the next week or two. He's hopeful, but not positive that decision will come prior to the dead period. And it's huge if he does make it before the dead period is lifted, because that means it's probably going to be Florida State or Ohio State. If it's after that and he makes a visit to LSU, the Tigers could very well be trending in that recruitment. But obviously Florida State, a lot of crystal balls coming their way as of late. So we'll see if the Seminoles can close out another recruitment and get a quarterback back on the board in the class of 23.
They got to land them, after this whole deal with Chris Parson, man.
Yeah, they have to.
The longer it goes, I think the more worried you have to be. I think this is something that Florida State would like to get wrapped up here pretty soon. So, I mean, the longer it goes, the less chances I look at FSU, because then you have the kid that is committed to Baylor. I know that he's an option for Ohio State. Like Dustin said, you have LSU coming in the picture. The longer this goes, the more options. So, I'm sure Florida State's pushing as much as they possibly can to get this wrapped up.
Mm-hmm. And Nate, Logan, I'm guessing you're on this boat, but Chris Parson probably wouldn't have backed out of the class if he didn't get word that another quarterback would be hopping on board pretty soon.
I was just about to tell you that Florida State staff was extremely communicative, as we know, with Chris Parson, the family and everything. They told him multiple times how many quarterbacks they wanted, who they were going after, the top guys in the recruiting board, all that kind of stuff. They're very communicative. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if they kind of gave him a little heads up there that they were expecting Brock Glenn to be a commit to Florida State here soon. Wouldn't shock me. But hey, Hayes Fawcett gets another edit, another phenomenal looking FSU edit. Good for him.
I'm sure he was happy to get that one done for Chris. Mm-hmm. I remember Chris told me whenever he got his commitment edit done by Hayes, and it got sent to him like after he made his commitment to Florida State. But I'm sure this time when he contacted him about a decommitment edit, he responded like within 30 seconds. And was like, "I'm going to get that done for you, buddy."
Of course, he's a Miami fan, so he's got to keep that locked in, you know.
Yeah, speaking of that, we have a few Miami fans here in the comments too, but I did see it. Well, not that. Where's the there was a question regarding Miami and them.
I hesitate on
pretty good run right now.
Jaden Rashada, a quality quarterback.
Yeah, this is a question here.
Florida's not out recruiting Florida State right now. Couple of those commitments, you know. Webb, for instance, Florida State pretty much declined to recruit him, and Dustin can back that up. Florida State did not pursue him. Marcus Stokes was lower on the board. Florida State beat Florida for Kearney and Simmons, so I would not consider Florida recruiting very well right now. They're not going to land Cormani McClain like they think they are. Their top targets are going to go elsewhere. Miami, on the other hand, is recruiting well. Mario has always been a great recruiter. Let's see how he can develop and how he can actually coach. He's going to be a very interesting case study in the argument of Jimmy's and Joe's versus coaches. So he's going to bring talent to Miami. That's not a surprise. But let's see how he can develop. He did what he did at Oregon with, like I said, last week or the week before, USC being a joke, UCLA being down, Stanford not being great, Washington being down. So let's see what he can do in terms of developing these players. So
yeah, that's tough. I mean,
that's going to be the side of Miami if they're back or not signing kids to a piece of paper.
Yeah, we've said it a lot of times. They're Miami and Florida. They're bringing in those new coaching staffs. They've got a little buzz behind them right now. And you look over at Florida State, 2 years in, you've got 8 total wins. So a lot of recruits are sitting in wait and see mode with Florida State. You do have a couple where those relationships were just too much to pass up. When you look at some of those guys that are committed to the Seminoles, and they do have some pretty high-profile commitments at this time, and that list is expected to continue to grow before the summer is over. So I do think we're seeing Florida State, they're beginning to trend back up on the recruiting trail. And if they come into the season, they have success out of the gate, they win 7 to 9 games, make a bowl, you're suddenly looking pretty good. And I think you're getting that recruiting class back inside the top 20, which would be a good finish, all things considered. And with Miami and Florida, we're just going to have to see how it plays out on the field, because they could be in the same boat as Florida State in a couple years, depending on how things go.
Yeah, not a really tough schedule for them this upcoming year. If anybody's not,
well, Miami,
I know they'll be
usually doesn't play a tough schedule.
No whatsoever. They will face Jimbo, and Jimbo will most likely take care of business because he usually does do that against Miami on a regular basis.
Dustin, you didn't like my tweet about Florida State's class being 13th if Baxter, Harris, and Parson and Pittman didn't decommit.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow. But I mean, it just shows you're only a couple commitments away.
Correct.
From being right up there among the top in the country.
Yeah. No.
Now, none of those guys that decommitted, you're going to get back, but
correct.
Hopefully you have someone to replace them.
Yep. So, it looks like Florida State's going to get, Singleton here at some point. So that replaces Baxter, who I still, I liked him.
I wouldn't say replace, but it's a nice consolation prize.
I'd say replace. And then you have Florida State getting Falcon Green at the end to make up for Gabe Harris, who I like a lot. So
yeah, let's talk about now some good news, some good stuff that I think. Yeah, good news. Back to the good side of things. I always like doing the better thing last, but Florida State, some really, really good news on Monday, and all of us on here predicted Florida State to land Lucas Simmons, one of the most talented. I think maybe the highest ceiling for talent kind of guy at the tackle position that a lot of scouts are really high on with Lucas Simmons, the Sweden kid, but down there in Clearwater now, picks Florida State. Coach Atkins once again continues to deliver and deliver at that offensive line position. Now bringing in these are potential starting kind of guys with, I believe, Kearney. Kearney's going to be a starter for Florida State. I think he's going to have a great career. And then you look at Lucas Simmons now and what they're building. You got Armella. You've got other guys. You brought in handful, if not double handful of guys in this class that we'll be watching here in a few weeks in fall camp. But Florida State really excited about the big time landing of Lucas Simmons, who was a big time target. And Coach Atkins, you got to give him the credit here of building that relationship early on, man. I mean, that kind of stuff, as we see, goes a really long way. And I believe that he didn't tell the staff either, didn't tell any college until he made the announcement, which is pretty cool. Going back to some old school days, it felt good to actually have a little bit of excitement for a commitment there, but he puts on the Florida State hat. And UF doesn't get him, even with their two offensive line coaches down there. Sucks to suck.
Yeah, Atkins just keeps it going, man. A couple weeks ago, he landed a really talented guy in Roderick Kearney, who, from what Nate has told us, he's going to play at center, but really he can play from right tackle to guard to center. And then now you're going to pair him with a top 150 recruit in Lucas Simmons, who's right near 6'8", 6'7", 3/4, already standing at right around 300 pounds or so, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. And you look at his frame, he's still got more than enough space on that frame to add another 25, 30 pounds of good weight, which really makes him a prototypical left tackle going into the next couple of years. A guy that recently started playing football, so you really got to think his best years are ahead of him. He really just began to focus on the sport over the past year whenever he moved over to the United States to play at Clearwater Academy from Sweden. And Florida State, we've mentioned it a ton of times on the podcast, they've been recruiting him. They made that offer when he still lived in Sweden, when he was getting off a train back home at Sweden. And Atkins developed that relationship ever since, the closest that he has with any coach in his recruitment. And that relationship is what led him to Florida State. His parents came on that final official visit in June, and they fell in love with it as well. And, Lucas, he's I don't think he's going to be a day one starter for Florida State, but this is a guy who has potential to be a 3 to 4 year starter in a 5-year career, and then one day be a NFL draft pick. And like I said, his best football is ahead of him, and he really believes that Atkins is that guy to get him to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, agree 100%. I think he's the best tackle that FSU's landed since Rojo. And I think it's really that close. I think FSU fans are going to have to be patient with him. He's not a day one starter. I do expect to see a very, I won't say huge, but screw it. I won't say huge leap this year. He's 2 years of playing football. I expect him to get even better this year. And I think he'll climb the rankings, man, because of, his footwork, how quick he is. His reach, 82-inch reach is ridiculous. He's got to get stronger, get better. Atkins, I think, has his left tackle for 3 years. So huge get, beating USC, beating Florida. Tennessee was probably second in that recruitment. So Florida State did a heck of a job there.
Yeah, Josh Storm's definitely going to do him some well because you already see how athletic he is at nearly 6'8". He's a physical player. So a couple years under Storms in that strength and conditioning program, get him beefed up, and that's your left tackle of the future right there in Lucas Simmons. And I mean, there's a lot to like, not only as a player but as a person. I think Florida State is getting a tremendous addition to the community. And just one quote on Atkins from his official visit. He said, "Coach Atkins is a guy I really respect and trust. It's hard for me to trust people at all, especially college coaches, because I feel that it can be kind of fake at times, if you know what I mean. I feel with Atkins that I know exactly what I'm getting into. I can't say any bad things about Atkins at all. I just enjoy talking to him." And like I said, that relationship has been going for over a year. And whenever he came to campus, he spent a lot of time around the players because he wanted to know if they were getting that same feeling from Atkins that he was. And they said that there's not a recruiting Alex Atkins and an on-campus Alex Atkins. He's the same guy all the time. He's always real with you. And, there's going to be some tough days, but this Florida State coaching staff is going to push you to be your best. And Simmons really rocked with that message. He also has a good relationship with Kearney. So those two are going to come into Florida State and try to help continue that overhaul of the offensive front that we've seen over the last couple of years.
But, one last comment, we'll move on. He definitely fits that new ace tackle. Not saying that he's Evan Neal, but you see the athleticism that Evan Neal, put out there on his social media, his workouts, not the old school, 6'4", 350 tackle. These guys are long, lean, and they can move. So, Simmons has some of those traits that Evan Neal has where, his footwork is just a difference.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to feel you got Kearney and, like you said, Simmons, bell cows for that offensive line, man. They could go out there and do some more recruiting too. It could get better. It could get better, definitely, with them being able to show it with Coach Atkins. If they're able to keep Coach Atkins, that's going to be the real key now for Coach Alford. But for AD Alford, he's got a big task on his hand. For anything, if that's his biggest thing, it might be Coach Atkins and keeping him sealed here.
You look 2 years on the road real quick. You had an offensive line of, at center, put Kearney. Then you have Sapp that could play center. You could put him at guard. You have Julian Armella who could play guard or tackle. You have Kearney that could play guard or center. Then you have your left tackle and Simmons. And then you got guys like Charlton and Early. You have a potentially very good to excellent offensive line, if everything stays together and Atkins stays there. You got to really like what you see at that position. You have a lot of versatility there.
Yeah, I mean, even behind that, Rodawar,
yep.
Bryson Estes, Lloyd Williams, there's some guys in the cupboard that could develop into major pieces for Florida State over the next couple of years. And we've seen that incremental progress from the offensive line. It's going to take another step this fall because there's been more depth added there. But the future, it's only getting brighter, because you're bringing in more talent into that room, and you can expect Florida State to continue to look at that graduate transfer market to see if there's any stopgap options after the season to, put in place while some of those guys develop like we've already seen. But, I mean, all the signs are pointing to this unit making a major turnaround. And, 3, 4, or 5 years ago, you were wondering what the hell happened to Florida State's offensive line. Now you're like, okay, this is starting to become one of the strengths of that offense.
Yeah, that's a whole 180. I really liked, too, what I saw from Daughtry Richardson in camp, and that was true freshman coming in, and I was really impressed from what I saw. Still definitely very raw, but you do see the potential later on down the road. So, yeah, Coach Atkins does it once again and lands top target. Definitely the offensive line position with Lucas Simmons. He'll be coming to Florida State next year. Let's jump into Florida State missing out here a tiny bit. This was expected today with Dalen Smothers, 2023 running back target. Recently visited Florida State. Seemed like the visit went very well. We're hearing good things. And then seems like he's going to go join a big room in that running back room over there. And Norman, he wants to go compete, it looks like, but Dalen Smothers picks Oklahoma. He's going to go be joining, it's weird to say this now, Brent Venables over there. at Oklahoma. Thoughts on this one? Was it a whiff for FSU here, or it was just another college, literally the better choice?
I think it was slightly a whiff because, a big reason he's ending up at Oklahoma, not only NIL, but due to that relationship with DeMarco Murray. And I mean, it is a little telling to have such a talented running back go ahead and choose to join a room. I believe Oklahoma has signed 4 top 200 running backs over the past 2. I think Smothers would be the 4th over the last 2 classes, which is just a ton of talent to have in one room. Let alone guys that are so close together in years. So he's definitely going to have to compete for a spot. And it says a lot that he was willing to go do that in Norman rather than coming maybe to a little bit of an easier route in Tallahassee.
My opinion is that it's just another sign of what I've been saying for 5 years, that running backs in college want to save their tread for the pros for that second contract. You don't necessarily have to be the guy in college football anymore. But I think DeMarco Murray also is just a hell of a recruiter.
He is.
So, kind of what we talked about with Parson, some of it falls on the coaching staff to get these guys to buy into what you're selling and competition and all that. So he did a great job there. I don't think it's a whiff. It's just they got beat out. I think the staff did a great job recruiting him. 3 visits that were all excellent visits per Smothers. Things just didn't work out the way that Florida State wanted it to. So, moving on to, Singleton, who is very similar. Him and Smothers are very similar. And I don't think you miss anything, with either or. Florida State just got beat in that recruitment. So
I don't know if I agree with that. I think Smothers is a caliber above, and also,
I disagree.
I know you do, but going back to the last recruiting class, I'm talking right
Florida.
now.
Is it Singleton?
This is the second running back now that Oklahoma has beaten out Florida State for in the last 2 classes. You add Smothers to Javonte Barnes from the last cycle. Mm-hmm. So back-to-back years, Florida State loses a highly touted running back to the Sooners.
That's tough to see.
I don't think Javonte Barnes was really realistic.
He officially visited.
Last year. That's great, but I don't think that he was really realistic.
Okay.
But we can debate Smothers versus Singleton at another time. But out of the 2, I would take Singleton. But I digress.
Nah. Well, it overall does suck, though, that can't land guys. It feels like since his pedigree with Norvell and what he's able to do with running backs, you'd think that it'd be a really appealing site for these guys to go to and not go to a big old room up there in Norman. I understand that Oklahoma has also a great track record in that running back room. But still, Norvell has had success getting guys and sending them into the NFL. It's still a big time L by David Johnson and Florida State. It's a major L.
8-13.
I mean, your walk-on running back is a starter this upcoming season.
8-13 wears on you on the recruiting trail. So, whether it's right or wrong, that plays a role. So, you can go, present what you've done at the running back position, irregardless of what you have depth-wise. I think that he's either going to be in the rotation in a year or 2, or he's going to be in the portal. So we'll see.
And you got to think, too, with this offensive line. I know there's a couple comments on here talking about it. And I do think with the offensive line improving and such, that will help in a lot of areas with both quarterback and running back, too. I mean, blocking, which continues to get better. You're going to attract more, but still, I mean, you got to be a recruiter, man. It's tough to lose out on these guys.
And Florida State is going to have a really good run game this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what opens up on that front. What does that look like here in October, November, December?
Yeah, we're getting close now to training camp preview since Florida State starts week 0 Florida State will start their practice a bit earlier than other colleges across the country. So it looks like this might be one of our last, if not our second to last, before we go dive into a training camp preview, which I'm very excited to talk about that running back room after what we saw in the spring.
Bench them for Heisman.
That's right. Let's talk ACC Media Day. Then I want to point out a really interesting hire that Alfred made over the week that I think not a lot of people noticed and thought there were some pretty interesting things about. But Florida State and the ACC, they announced the 3 members that will be representing Florida State along with head coach Mike Norvell. No surprise here. Jordan Travis. You got Fabian Lovett and Jamie Robinson here. I was kind of maybe a little surprised about, not really talent-wise in the caliber of a starting guy, but Robert Cooper not being there. But I don't think he's really maybe not a big, well, when he's with us in media, he does really good interviews and I actually like listening to him. But maybe gave it to Lovett for him to go handle business up there. But either way, I think no shocker here with these picks. But good to see Lovett out there, who I think is going to have a monster season for Florida State.
Yeah, and like you said, Robert Cooper isn't going to make it. And one other name I'm surprised won't be in attendance is Austin Veazey.
Oh, man.
I was about to ask Austin, who's he more excited to interview?
Well, I won't be there, unfortunately. Got some work stuff going on. If it was 2 days later, I'd be there. But
couldn't stop selling shoes for a few hours to go.
Yeah, sorry.
Pays the bills, you know.
It does pay the bills.
I've seen. I had to go check out the site earlier this week, VZ, because I'm looking for some shoes, and they do pay the bills. I would see that. I do pay the bills, but yeah, they got those guys representing Florida State. I don't think really any shock here. It was really weird not to see. I'm trying to think. Give me the long snapper names, please. Give me those.
I don't know.
Oh, great. Awesome. Now, someone's about to get real mad at me because I see my guy at Township all the time, and now I'm completely flustered.
Don't even know his name.
Forgetting the dang name, and I got it on the tip of my tongue, so I'll make up for it. I'm not even going to look at my phone, and I'll figure it out by the end of this podcast.
What's the over under?
I don't know.
What's the
You said you had it on the tip of your tongue.
Isn't there a Rosenberry?
Look at that. VZ knows more than Delu on the snapper situation.
I know both of their names. It's funny watching you squirm.
Oh, God.
I mean, it's James Rosenberry and Garrett.
Well, no. Oh, my God. Why'd you say it? I know there's an M somewhere.
We talked to Garrett Murray's parents after the Florida game.
Mm-hmm.
Can't even remember his name.
Yeah, great. Wonderful.
What's the over under on SEC and conference expansion that these coaches are going to be asked?
I think there's going to be a lot of great content, Nate. I think that's all I know. So far, that's been the biggest hitter. I mean, right now, NG's beating out Tom Brady pieces at Bucks game day. So the more ACC, SEC, Big Ten talk, I'm here for it. But I think they're going to have to. There's going to be a lot of questions. I mean, if you were going to be there, Austin, we got to get the clicks. So we'd be sending you with all the questions. They would never see you again. So it'd be perfect. You just lay out all the.
That's the only thing I care about. Honestly, I wasn't here last week to talk about it. I can't wait. Get me out of this conference.
Yeah, what's your take on it? Since you weren't here, we talked about the SEC and Big Ten, the report that we put out, and what we were hearing regarding that. Florida State having some talks since last summer with both parties, Big Ten, SEC, and it seems like now kind of things are turning up a notch for Florida State and maybe Clemson, North Carolina to start listening a little bit more. And now if the ACC does this partnership, whatever the heck they're trying to call it, with the Pac-12, how that works and the grant of rights. Anyways, what are your thoughts? You tired of the ACC regarding, because this is big for basketball too?
I've been tired of it since I was with the team, with the basketball team in 2017. I couldn't stand it. The officiating's been terrible in both basketball and football for the longest time, between Ron Cherry and whoever else in football to God knows how many refs in basketball, Roger Ayers and everybody else. I really cannot wait to get out of this conference. Me personally, I would like to be in the Big Ten. I don't know why. I think it's just,
I was about to ask you why.
I don't know why. Just growing up in the Southeast, I don't like the SEC. It's one of those. I also always wanted to go to games, at Michigan, at Ohio State, at wherever. Whereas the SEC, especially coming from a basketball standpoint, yeah, I'd love to see a game at Rupp, see Florida State play in that environment. But other than that, I could not care less, honestly. SEC is coming up in basketball, but from a football standpoint, yeah, that's gonna be the moneymaker. So, I see both sides of it. I think I'd personally like to be in the Big Ten, even if it makes travel more difficult. But anything with the ACC, anything.
Yeah, we kind of dove deep into it, D-Lou and us. We're talking about also the money and how much of a difference that is too with the trajectory of the next 10, 15 years and how much of a lapping would be going on with the SEC and Big Ten compared to the other conferences down below. It's just not even close. Florida State gets hurt really badly with not making a lot of money. Yes, Florida State makes money, but it's going to get to the point to where it's just you can't even compete in a lot of different ways. And not only football program, but it helps the programs outside that. Basketball, Florida State has a fantastic realm of women's sports. So being able to have that, not just extra, you would have a lot of extra money to help fund those and different things there, a facility that can be upgraded, et cetera, et cetera. So,
and we've talked in the past how bad how down bad we've been in money. This is like a $20-30 million difference going to one of these other two leagues instead of staying with the ACC. Okay. It'd be huge. It'd be huge, honestly. I know Alfred's going to do anything possible to get us in one of those two leagues as soon as possible.
All I know is next week. It is next week, right? Or whenever the ACC Media Day is. I can't remember the date, Logan, but the ACC commissioner is going to be squirming like you were when you were trying to remember the long snapper names.
Garrett
Every
Murray.
time he gets a question.
Garrett Murray. Yeah, no, he's gonna be getting hit hard, and I'm gonna love every person that asks good questions because we'll be running some pieces on it because they've been blowing up. How you like this patch right here, VZ? You like that SEC patch right there?
It's okay. Prefer a Big Ten patch.
Like the Big Ten, yeah. We need to have K-Camp make
a comparison.
Yeah, give me a Big Ten rendering so I can see it in my head.
Yeah, and when it comes that way,
SEC money.
Yeah, I was about to say, just put the money symbols right.
Big Ten money is not that much different, and
$18 million. That's a lot.
But you also get games in LA. You get games at UCLA potentially, games at USC potentially. I'd like to see those.
Nate does not want to go to California.
I don't want to travel to Starkville, Mississippi. I'm sorry.
Okay. No one's going to Wake Forest games either.
I've always
unless they have to.
I've always wanted to go
30
see
minutes away.
USC.
Yeah,
that's a bucket list trip. I'd love to go out there. UCLA was my second favorite school for a long time. Man. So, but I'd rather be in the SEC.
My second favorite school for a long time was Washington, and they're in the talks to get Big Ten too. So just pile it all in.
Would be Washington, man. That makes no sense.
It's more with the purple, really. The purple and gold. I just thought it looked good. Yeah,
you always do wear purple shoes and stuff. I'll see it on IG. You do have some different colorful. Nah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that's true.
Don't hate on purple, man.
I'm not hating on any purple
color, man.
Good color.
A purple tie, man.
You show your true colors. That's for sure.
A purple suit be nice.
Okay, now we're going crazy. I'm
gonna have to wear a purple suit to New Orleans.
Hey, you know what SI needs to do? They need to get us to the red carpet one week. We'd have the best content. You send all four of us there, man. We'd have some good interviews. That will never happen, though.
I'll outshoot everyone there. I can guarantee that.
I don't know. At the SI red carpet, I don't know about that.
Yes.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah,
I can't wear ballers on the red carpet.
Yeah, I was about to say, or gray shirt. No, probably not going to happen.
No. I need a wardrobe change.
I saw him at the gym today, VZ. Gray shirt, black shorts.
This is a blue though. It's a dark blue.
We can't. There's no telling.
It's still in your same color palette.
Yep.
Dark and depressing. Yeah.
Dark and depressing.
It's been a tough week, guys.
What I was leading on.
Jesus. Goodness gracious. Let's play the violin for him. But speaking of Alfred here, I wanted to mention one of the hires this week that I thought was pretty significant while we're talking about conference realignment and making moves here. Florida State makes a pretty big hire from Michael Alford. Now with Janine Lalick, I'm hoping I'm right on that. She's now the deputy.
That's how to pronounce it in the article. if you want to read a little further.
Janine Lalick is now the Deputy Athletics Director for External Operations. This means that she will oversee all external operations for athletics, including marketing and promotions, multimedia rights, interesting there, public relations, Seminole Productions, ticket operations, social media, and video services. She also will manage external partnerships with the athletics department and have sport oversight responsibilities. The biggest thing there too,
AKA get out of the green rights.
Yeah, the multimedia rights. So she'll be taking care of a lot of that. She's had some time. IMG. She worked also with Fanatics too, which has been a complete major success for sports branding and apparel, everything. Did a whole lot too with Ticketmaster also. So she's got a whole variety of a background here, but I think the most significant one here is that she's going to be doing a lot of hands-on stuff with working these relationships with multimedia relations, which you can kind of start seeing what Alfred is doing here a tiny bit, building a team around him. And you can see that there's been a need for change here in Florida State and the admin, and making some moves in this regard, because Florida State has kind of put themselves in the last about close to 10 years now in a pretty tough spot to where, you know, the brand is still there, but just doesn't seem like things are clicking in some other departments. And these hires that you're seeing Alfred make, I think, is going to only help bring in some more opportunities for some money, and possibly get yourself out of a agreement that's going all the way till 2036.
I kind of disagree a little bit on the value. You know, that chart that Alfred, tweeted out. Florida State football program being down is still 15th in terms of overall value. I think that there's money there, but not what needs to be had in order to compete with the top level.
Yeah, and actually Sports Illustrated released an article today with their valuations of every FBS program in the country, and Florida State came in on the list 19 out of 69. So, I mean, not too bad. You're still in the upper tier of the country, but clearly, and that wasn't
for not winning.
That wasn't just football. That was all sports, academics. I think TV viewership. It was a bunch of things tied into one, and Florida State ranked in the upper tiers, but you definitely want to be higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to mention just real quick the quote here from Alfred, which was really interesting too. Janine, this is from Alfred saying, Janine is a prominent industry leader with extensive experience in media negotiations and the identification of revenue streams. So seems like Alfred got his lady to take care of all the kind of serious negotiations which go through all the revenue. And, you got the media, you've got all of these companies that need to be all figured out. Seems like he's got his lady and a couple people around to start making some negotiations. Seems like it's just kind of put right in front of our face of what Alfred's planning on doing. So pretty interesting hire by Florida State's athletic director.
Plus, you got your craft beer, your first craft beer sponsorship, the official craft beer of the Seminoles, Oyster City Brewing. So
they make really good beer.
That's good.
By the way,
a couple cool announcements this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, a lot of good stuff happening
right there in the chat.
Wow, it's like almost like you saw it. Almost
beat me by 2 minutes. Wow.
Yeah, that's great
Good
stuff.
job to that guy.
A great job to that guy. Yeah.
But I mean, gotta like what Alfred's done so far. Since he got hired, I know some people weren't really. I think it's 50-50 on him taking that position, but what he's done so far has been pretty awesome.
Yep, and I think we're going to see more of that. I think we'll see little tidbits of it this upcoming season. We'll probably notice a few different things, but then heading into 2023, I think things might be looking a little bit different. Let's talk too about some former Seminoles, at least on the football team, that are going to be inducted into Florida State Athletics Hall of Fame. We know this one very well. Snoop Minnis will be inducted into the Florida State Athletics Hall of Fame. And then E.G. Green also is going to be inducted. Nate, this is around your time back in the day.
Are you not going to read off the other people?
I mean,
there's
Brooks Koepka. Brooks Koepka.
I mean, that too. Brooks Koepka. And you gotta talk about Tim Pickett.
There was 10 people. We're just going to be like,
well,
all right.
I didn't know. I'll go through all of them then. We'll start from top to bottom, everybody.
It's disrespectful.
I'm practicing Jeff Kalane, who we also need to go on the podcast soon. I'm coming for your job. I'm about to list this out. If I screw up once, and I'll never get hired on Florida State's radio. Number 1, Jean Wes Aubon from 2000-2010 tennis. Congratulations to her. Amanda DaCosta, soccer 2007 to 2010. Emma Dutton, swimming and diving. Shout out to the swimming and diving team 2001 and 2004. E.G. Green, like we just said, football. Brooks Koepka, a legend now in PGA and Live now, I guess, the Live tournament tour, whatever. 2009, 2012 over there in the golf scene. And you got Snoop Minnis from 1997 to 2000. You got Tim Pickett, like VZ was just mentioning there, basketball legend 2003, 2004. Tony Presley. Oh my God. I'm just got fired. Christ. Yeah, didn't get it. Didn't get the job. Didn't get the job on the 7th person there, but Tony Presley, phenomenal player in soccer from 2008 to 2011. James Ramsey, I do know this one very well, 2009, 2012 from the baseball diamond. Oh God, I'm definitely not getting this job. Not getting the job. Jeff, you got it from me for a couple years. Jekaterina Strepanova. Love that name. Volleyball, 2010, 2011, kind of. And then Lawton and Beth Langford, they are the winners of the Morris Stone Award 2022. So there's the lineup there. Shout out to Dustin for wanting us to get the whole lineup there.
Thank you for that.
There's some big names in there. Not just
there is.
It's the Florida State Athletics Hall of Fame. Those people have earned the right for you to read their damn name out on your stupid podcast.
You're the one on the stupid podcast every week.
John Presley. Great job.
Okay, yeah. You want me to give that one to you? I'm going to have you do it, Nate.
Oh, as far as E.J. Green, yeah. When he left, he was a record setter in just about every category at Florida State. So, hell of a player.
Yeah.
Same thing with Snoop Minnis, man.
Snoop!
Just if he would have not missed that game, that title game, man. But whatever. Tim Pickett, couldn't tell you one thing about him. Never heard of him.
Oh my God. I called him a legend.
For him to get there in the FSU Hall of Fame in 2 seasons tells you pretty much all you need to know. Dude was one of the very best of early Leonard Hamilton basketball at Florida State.
Nah, I've heard of Tim Pickett. I'm joking with you.
I definitely know who Tim Pickett is, but we just don't have a lot of time tonight left, I don't think. We're really cutting it close, but shout out to
break down his career, Austin? How did he fit? What was his efficiency?
How much time did he get on the court every game?
High energy guard, elite shooter. I think he shot 8 threes per game his final season at FSU. Dynamic offensive player.
Wasn't he like a upper 40% 3-point shooter?
I wouldn't say uppers. I think high 30s. Let me check.
I remember watching him. He was a great shooter. That's all I remember him.
We didn't touch on was Desmond Ricks, really. We didn't talk about that last week on the pod and that whole situation. That dramatic experience.
40.7% his final season.
Oh, it's good.
Good to know. Now I can sleep tonight. Now I can. Thank God. We didn't talk about Desmond Ricks any. We didn't talk about Desmond Ricks. What a roller coaster ride that was, man. What is going on there? He puts out a post. I guess Hayes Fawcett. Shout out to him once again. Really getting his name out there, getting the brand out, but puts out a quote from Desmond Ricks and says that Florida State, I don't know what happened to Florida State. They haven't been in touch with me. He puts out a top 10 with Hayes Fawcett. Shout out to him again. He's doing a great job. Puts out the top 10 and Florida State's not on there. It seems like some random names of schools in there just to kind of add on to the dramaticness of not having Florida State in there. Thoughts on Desmond Ricks? While Nate is just hitting something, it's probably great for the people in the car that are listening. They probably think their friggin' cars fall off the interstate.
Yeah,
thoughts on the Desmond Ricks situation?
A lot has changed since April. By all accounts, we were informed by multiple people that Desmond Ricks was set to commit to Florida State on April 8th, a day before FSU spring game. For one reason or another, that did not follow through. And then the following day during interviews, he stated that he wouldn't be making a commitment for the next year. But at the time, he also said that Florida State was the team to beat in his recruitment. The next week, he took a visit to Alabama and said Alabama was number one in his recruitment. And, haven't heard much on it the last couple months. And now you get into July this week, and he makes that quote, which, to me, it seems a little strange that Florida State went from number one to not even in the top 10. And you look at some of those other programs in there. Florida and Miami made it. Jackson State made it. It just kind of seemed like a shot at Florida State, and to go as far as making a graphic and putting all that stuff out and making a big stink about it. I mean, come on, you're telling me Florida State's not talking to the number one defensive back, the number two prospect, the 5-star prospect in the class of 24. I simply just
talked really highly of putting you at the top. You think that would just disappear? And then the quote doesn't make sense because the timeline of hasn't talked to me in months. It's only July. So they would have had to have stopped talking at the end of April, as he just recently told them that they're at the top of the list. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't really buy it. It really seems like someone got in his ear and it was a targeted shot at Florida State. And, a lot of things can change with the class of 24 recruit. We'll just have to see how it plays out from here. But that relationship definitely, it took a shot at it the other day.
It was just a no-win situation for the staff. Like,
you can't respond to it.
Yeah, you can't respond to it. All you can do is take it on the chin and go recruit someone else. But it's like, damn, come on, man. I'm sure the staff saw that and they're like, come on, like, what are we doing here?
A couple of us too contacted our sources and said that Florida State, that was false information. Florida State has indeed been in contact with Desmond, or at least have contacted on their side, but they completely were a little shocked by that statement, to say the least.
Did you just record that, Logan? Austin talking about a high school recruit?
I was about to say that felt a little strange.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see if the stars are the stars aligning.
All I know is Coach Hamilton would never. That's all I know.
No, I saw your little tweet out there too, saying Leonard Hamilton would never stop contacting and talking.
I think there's some shenanigans behind the whole thing. I'm calling shenanigans on that. That seemed like a convoluted bullshit list and announcement. Puts FSU, like you said, in a bad spot because they can't address it. So they just got to take it and move on. FSU fans got to use some common sense. Come on, yeah, for real.
And another comment I just remembered from Ricks during that visit in April, talking about defensive backs coach Marcus Woodson, who I've seen take some flack in the wake of that comment being released from Desmond Ricks. He said that Coach Woodson has been recruiting him since he was in 8th grade, and that they have a relationship that is like family rather than just a player and a coach. So it seems very odd that a 3-year relationship would suddenly be twisted within, 2.5 months. That means Woodson has been after this kid since he was at Auburn, before he even came to Florida State. So he's recruited him at 2 colleges for a long time, and I don't think it would suddenly just drop off like that in April, at least from Florida State's end.
No, it doesn't really make sense. And then you see the comments of some other recruits across the country saying that not everybody's going to be contacted by Florida State. I hated seeing that all over Instagram. Everybody's screenshotting us in the Discord and on Twitter like, oh, my God, are you kidding me? They're also not talking to this guy. Dog, let's start having some common sense here. They're not contacting every damn player across the effing country. I'm trying to get a sponsor before the season, so I'm trying to chill out on the cussing. But let's get a brain here and stay off the weed, like my guy Stephen A. Smith says. Let's chill out for a second and have some real thoughts, because Lord, that was irritating. As y'all said, it puts Florida State in a really bad spot, and they can't do nothing about it. Just got to take it on the chin and move on. But yeah, really weird situation. Didn't make any sense at all. Speaking of recruiting, real quick to note, Florida State is planning on having a recruiting event on July 30th to end off the month and get things prepped for the upcoming season and try to get some guys in town. Have you heard of any names, both of y'all, of guys planning on attending in Tallahassee for that?
Yeah, working on building that list. Florida State trying to get some top targets as well as commitments back to campus one more time before the fall. I saw someone in the comments earlier mention Jabril Rawls. He's one of the players that's planning to make it. I've been informed that Hakeem Williams is probably going to make it. I traded a couple messages with KJ Sampson the other day, and he told me earlier in the month he was not going to make it. Now the plan as of today, well, as of yesterday or so, is for him to make it to that event. But we're just going to have to see because his football season is coming up pretty early in August. So it's just going to depend on some scheduling things. But as of now, he's planning to be there. So there's going to be some talented attendance, and we're working on filling out that list.
Uh-oh. I don't know why it's...
Can't hear your name.
There you go. Now I got it.
I think the one that would the name I'm watching is Blake Nicholson. If he does come like he mentioned, that would bode well for FSU. But I really haven't started reaching out yet. I will hear, but it seems like they're trying to make this a big kickoff to fall camp and right as the dead period ends.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough to fight against Dan Lanning over there, don't you think? Or
yeah, it'll be tough.
Never know.
But his family's open anywhere he wants to go. But he's been at Oregon like 7 times, so
yeah, we'll see. It'll be hopefully maybe a tight, close recruitment there for the linebacker from the West Coast. Let's jump into some basketball to finish up. I noted on here because I've just been seeing it all over my timeline with Cabangeli over there with the Summer League on the Celtics team, absolutely balling right now, which I'm really excited for. Still got to get him on the pod. He's probably busy right now for a really good reason, but Cabangeli absolutely balling. I don't know. I don't have the stats pulled up or anything, but it feels like the last couple of weeks. Oh, thank God. I was thinking the last couple of weeks, Cabangeli has been in his bag, and I'm sure D-Lou's happy up there. As you can see, his little pennant, up there. We love Cabangeli. Yeah, well, that was great podcast. He did a great job.
I was just going to say something about the Celtics.
Well, I mean, I'm excited. I'm obviously excited about it because he was a player that I was hoping the Celtics would draft back in 2019. And, ever since we've started this podcast, there's been a couple guys that come through. Malik Beasley, Dwayne Bacon. I don't think they didn't have a pick high enough to get Isaac or Patrick Williams or Scotty, but Terrence Mann. I didn't want Scotty, but so Florida State or the Celtics haven't drafted an FSU player since I've been a fan. So I was hoping they would take one of those guys, even if it was Scotty. I would have settled for it. But now to have Cabangeli in the Summer League balling out like this with some roster spots available, and I think he still has a year of two-way eligibility left, if I'm not mistaken, and the Celtics have a two-way contract. Very realistic chance that he's going to make the team as a backup big because they need to continue adding some depth behind Robert Williams and Al Horford. They need a third, fourth big in that mix to help because Al Horford is going to need some rest. He's an older guy. Rob Williams, you don't really know if that injury history, he's not going to be able to play all 82. So they need a stopgap big, and Fee really fills that as a lob threat, and he can also play defense as well. Not really as versatile maybe as some of the other guys on the Celtics, but he fits the mold as a big that they could utilize in their system.
Go ahead.
Today was the first day Cabangeli didn't have the greatest of games, but you still saw it. 7 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks. It's fine. But up until today, his first game, 14 points, 6 rebounds. His second game, 15 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. Then 2 days ago, 20 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. I mean, he's been absolutely killing it so far in Vegas. Can't say the same for everyone else in Vegas for Florida State. Polite hasn't played. He's just signed a deal with the team in France, so I'm not that surprised. Honestly, Malik Osborne's been getting minutes here and there, but his first game was really the only one he got that much opportunity. MJ Walker hasn't done much. Raekwon Gray's been all right. You know, he started every game so far for the Nets. Balja Kovacic has played a total of like 12 minutes with the Pistons.
Tough.
And then John Butler, just the mystery continues at this point. He's played, I think, a total of 15, 16 minutes with the Pelicans so far. Been talking to some people today. I don't think he signed with a new agency yet. I know last time I was on here, I talked that he left Rock Nation. I don't think he signed with a new agent yet. Just a really strange situation. I feel bad for the kid, but, you know, it is what it is at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say, he hasn't signed with an agent yet. What agent is trying to sign him? So
yeah. It sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah, you lose. I mean,
he'll be joining Polite soon.
Wow. Where's Polite at?
France.
Yeah, he's signed with ASVEL, I think it was, in France.
How much does that pay usually? Do you know what do the kind of contracts look like?
It's not terrible. You're not poor or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably in the 6 figures.
Yeah, you're definitely
it's not NBA money, but it's enough to live comfortably for
probably
sure.
Probably high 5 figures if I had to guess.
High as 5, okay.
Depends where you're at in Europe or overseas.
I bet. Shoo. I would take lower if I'm in a really pretty spot. Makes me happy looking at pretty scenic areas. Anyways, well, that's the fascination there from the over the seas leagues. If anybody still wants us to talk about that, we'll start off our own separate podcast, but we're going to end that.
There's a lot of FSU guys playing in the over the seas leagues.
That's what I'm saying. I keep following them too. I keep up with them. I don't know what in the hell and whatever team they're playing for, but I follow them. I just see the weird jerseys and all the sponsors on like every bit of them on their jerseys. But
Dwayne Bacon's over in Italy or something.
He's killing it over there, just smoking people. Hey. All I'll say is if Dominic Olenichuk can have a pro career, almost anybody can for Florida State.
Matthew Thomas
up this, but you know,
yeah, Matthew Thomas balling too in the Canada League. I don't know if you guys seen that too, but it seems like he's having a good season right now for them.
It's a name I haven't heard in 6 years.
I know, right? Oof. You had
we
an
got
interesting
offered for him to come on this podcast.
Yeah, we should get him on now. Nate, you had an interesting tweet earlier this week regarding Matthew Thomas, which I think would be even better of an episode.
What? Replying to someone no?
Yeah,
about being underdeveloped at Florida State.
Yeah, about Matthew Thomas.
I mean,
I don't think that was really his. I don't think that was the coach's fault.
No,
kind of agree with you on that part.
No, I'm not going to put his business out there, but when a player is assigned someone to get him to class or make sure he eats and sleeps and wipes his ass and changes his underwear, that's not on the coaches.
I'm not going to put his business out there, but roast him instantly.
That he doesn't wipe his butt in the toilet. Well, looking forward to getting him on here next week on Hear the Sphere. We've got Matthew Thomas.
And he's watching right now.
Great. Well, no, maybe there's some CFL games on Thursday nights up there. I don't know. Anyways, yeah.
I'm just saying. Keeping it real, man.
I like it. We got to keep it real. I think there's a lot of too much of just some acting fake and all giddy on some places. Nice to keep it real for sometimes. This might be our last little relax podcast before we preview training camp. Still don't have it officially from Florida State, but expecting to be around July 27th, which would put us now less than 2 weeks away from camp. So just depending on official word and such, this time next week, we could be previewing a full-on fall camp for Florida State and begin the 2022 season run under Michael Bell.
It's here.
Feels good. I'll tell you, it feels good. It is a long and busy part of the year for all of us, but do miss it. Do miss a little bit. Do miss some practices. Do miss having some actual things to see in person. Then also come on here and talk with you guys about. It'll be good. A little bit better than talking about college football realignment every week now, and decommitments and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that wraps it up. Chris Parson decommits. Lucas Simmons commits. That seems like to be the highlight there. We'll keep an eye out on any kind of conference stuff. You guys can follow us on si.com, and we're at nogameday.com. With Sports Illustrated, I think that's practically it. I don't think we have a guest lined up for next week. We don't know that yet. You never know. One might pop up, but we'll be seeing you guys next Thursday night.
Do we want one more Chris Parson tidbit before we get off?
Might as well. I mean, why not? Everybody wants it. Right?
Forgot to say it earlier, but I was told that he did not inform the other commitments in the group chat that he was decommitting earlier this week. It kind of came as a surprise to the other guys in that chat. And obviously Parson has been a big part, and at least some of those guys committing to Florida State. You know, it's important not only to have a relationship with coaches, but also you've got this 4-star quarterback in your ear also recruiting you. So to have him leave like that kind of sucks. And I did have one FSU commit tell me, I believe he was truly locked in. Guys just don't like competition nowadays, I guess. And I think that about sums it up for everyone, because we saw those offers go out. We saw the heel turn from Parson, who grew up a Florida State fan. And, you know, he said it in his interview, this was one of his visits earlier this offseason. It was like his 12th or 13th visit to Florida State in his life, and, you know, all this stuff. And when the fire hits the pan, you know, what happens?
Tough. Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I haven't heard from him, so.
Yeah. No, I did see a few.
I don't think I will be.
I don't think so either. I saw a few other recruits too, because I was kind of wondering. I did see a few recruits posted some stuff after the decommitment from Chris Parson, and kind of wonder, well, that could go two different ways. But now I think I know the way that some of the fellow 2023 ones at the time were posted on social media. Maybe not a great way to go out there and kind of ghost everybody and not let them know the decision after you kind of created the group chat and everything. Not a great look. So we'll see. We'll see if Florida State finds some better news, maybe over the weekend, or early next week. We'll keep an eye out in that quarterback room. So we'll see. As always, you can listen on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe. If you're on iTunes, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, subscribe. So then every time you get notified when we release a new episode, we'll be back next week, maybe previewing some fall camp for Florida State. Excited we're here. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week on Hear the Spirit, presented by NogameDay.com. Peace.